All right. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Jason Levine, and it's so wonderful to have you here today on a very special Adobe video live stream series here, coming to you live on Adobe Live, Behance, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Periscope. We're everywhere today and for the next 4 days. And really what makes this so special is, as many of you know, of course, we don't have the NAB conference this year. So in lieu of that, we wanted to give you something similar, but virtual and a little bit different, kind of in this changing world that we're all working in. So over the next 4 days, you're going to have an amazing opportunity to hear about some new features that just got released today. We did an update of all the video and audio apps. You will find that in your Adobe CC desktop today, as well as talking with some incredible product team people. So you want to ask questions of the product teams. You want to know why Premiere is doing something. You want to inquire about these features. You want to inquire about other things that you have to ask about. This is the opportunity to do that. We've got 2 shows a day. So the morning, we're going to be talking with Adobe people. And then following that, an hour later, we're going to be chatting with amazing customers. You're going to show you workflows and show you how they're doing the work they're doing today, not only remotely, but leveraging a lot of the amazing tools and techniques that we have inside of Premiere and After Effects and the others. So we're going to get started today by bringing in one of my first guests. You know him, you love him. He is my good friend, Mr. Karl Soule. Say hello, Karl.
Hello, Karl. Sorry, Jason. Hi, I'm super happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's really awesome. And, you know, we want to remind everybody that we've got conversations and chats going on all over the place. Now, we want you to really focus on the chat on Adobe Live. So that's behance.net/live, as well as on the Premiere Pro Facebook page. I will be monitoring YouTube and Twitter Periscope and Behance as well. But this is really the opportunity for you to ask questions of Karl. And Karl, today we're going to be talking about one of the new features. This is really exciting. This is something that we brought a video out on, about 3 months ago? And it's Premiere Pro Productions. And a lot of you have been asking about this. Karl, of course, is our senior technical sales guy, business development, working in Hollywood. You've seen him on my regular streams many, many times before, and he's going to give you the skinny about everything. Now, Karl, before you get into it, I want to emphasize one more thing. We also not only have me monitoring the chats, but we've got Adobe people carefully placed across all the various chat clients. So ask your questions. We will try and compile them all. I will start to feed them into Karl live. This is not just Karl presenting and then at the end a Q&A. We're going to do this as we go. So if you've got questions, bring them in. We want to hear from you. And that's what this 4 days is really all about. So Karl, why don't you go ahead, take it away and get us into a little bit about productions.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason. So just to get started, to kind of set the stage on this, you know, Premiere has had this concept of a Premiere Pro project for quite a while. And, you know, a project contains your clips. You import your media into that, and it generates little clips that show up in your project bin. You also create timelines or sequences, and those also live inside that project. And, you know, the project file is not going away in this release in any way, shape, or form. You can still use a single standalone project in the same way you always have. But what we've started to find is, as projects have gotten more complex, as people are trying to do TV series where they've got multiple episodes that they have to deliver, they start to use multiple Premiere Pro projects. And of course, a number of versions back, we added the ability to have multiple projects open at the same time. And we've had people using that for quite a while now, and they've seen some challenges with that. You know, the way Premiere always operated when you had a single standalone project, if you just wanted to copy a single sequence from one project over to another project, it had to bring along all of the clips, all of the master clips that lived onside that sequence. So we started, as we were talking to feature film editors, as we were talking to people doing episodic television, we realized that we needed something that kind of lived one level above Premiere Pro projects. And so that's what productions are. Production is a way of organizing a set of Premiere projects in a unique way, and we maintain a relationship between those different projects. So for the first time ever, it's possible to create projects that just contain clips and can create projects that just contain sequences and have the clips in the sequence reference the other projects. So let me kind of show you what this looks like with the new productions panel. You know, this was based on a lot of different feedback from many, many editors down here in Hollywood, as well as New York, other parts of the world. A lot of the technology on this was battle tested on films like They Call Me Dolomite on Netflix, like Terminator Dark Fate. This is actively being used in production on David Fincher's new film coming out called Mank. So
Awesome.
this is not something that we kind of built in the lab and we're putting out there for the first time. This has had a lot of testing and a lot of proving on real world projects.
And it's worth pointing out too, Karl, you've been really intimately involved in not only kind of the development of this, but leveraging this with all these high profile customers to really ensure that it kind of delivers, that specific kind of workflow, and also keep your projects significantly lighter and faster to open than they ever were before, right?
Absolutely. By breaking things up into different projects, you can kind of open the production, take seconds, and then you can dive right into that specific project with the specific sequence you want to work in. You don't have to worry about Premiere having to go through and catalog and index, 100 days worth of shooting every time you open up the project, which is fantastic.
Right. All right. I'm going to switch over to your screen, man. Let's get into it.
Okay, so very quickly to dive in, on my screen, you'll see over on the left-hand side here, I've got the production panel is actually open, and we're inside of a new production. And there's a little slider down here at the bottom where I can make this normal Premiere sized, or for my failing eyesight, I can I can make it a little bit bigger here. And that'll also help you guys see it better on the screen here. The basic idea of the production panel is this is made up of folders and subfolders, and then all you're going to see inside of these folders are Premiere Pro projects. So the project icons actually can tell me at a glance what I have open, what other people have open, if I'm working in a group, and also what is also closed. So I can see at a glance here, like these projects here, nobody has these open right now. But if I double click on one of these projects, you'll see that the icon immediately fills in, indicating that I've got it open. And I get this green pencil if I've got it open in a state where I can go in and make changes. Within a production, we're using the project locking functionality that's been in Premiere for a while, and just kind of enhanced it a bit so that we can see at a glance. But it's the same idea of it's sort of a first come, first served basis of which projects within the production you want to work with. Whoever double clicks on that first, they've got the ability to go in and modify it and make changes. Now, if I hold down the Command key and double click on day 2, I've got day 2 open, but you'll notice I don't have a pencil. I don't have the ability to make any changes to this production or this project, but I can use it as a source. I can drag and drop clips into a sequence in a project that I own. I have a project with a sequence that's open here, this one called Full Edit Aspect. This is a little short film by Mike Burton, is the filmmaker in this case. And this is the cool big difference. Let me zoom in on my screen here to this project bin, and you'll see that within this project, all I have are sequences. There are no clips inside of this project. I have view hidden turned on just in case any of you think I'm like hiding the clips someplace. No, I'm not. There are no clips inside of this project, but yet this sequence is loaded up with clips. So what this actually enables me to do is, from an organization perspective, I can organize my media into separate projects, and I can do that however I want. You might start off, if you've got sequential shooting days, you might actually start by just taking today's clips, today's dailies, and just dropping them into a new project and giving a name like day 1, day 2, day 3. As you start to organize the footage, you might move clips over into scene projects and then create a sequence so that you can edit a particular scene together. Many times, we shoot out of sequence. So, the first scene that might be edited together might be scene 23. But you can do that. You can organize your footage in that way. The best thing about this, if I need to find a clip, if I'm going through and looking for a particular shot, this is a great shot here, but maybe I want to change this around or modify this clip. Maybe I want to find an alternate take for this clip. Normally, I would have to go and try and find it within the different projects. All I need to do with a production, I can right-click on this clip, say Reveal in Project, this menu item here. And when I do that, it will open up that project that has all of that footage. And you can see I've got some alternate takes that I can play around with here within the project. So for anybody who's doing episodic work, anybody who is doing long form work, if you're a documentary filmmaker, you're going to love this. If you are doing episodic work, you can actually think about the idea of having a single production for multiple episodes. And this makes it really easy if you have to go back and find footage from like a previous episode. So whether you're doing that for, network television or you're doing it for YouTube, productions just make a lot of sense as this new way of organizing your clips and organizing your footage. Now, one other thing I want to show you is productions also makes it easy to reuse elements, because oftentimes, as editors, we create libraries of sound effects. We create libraries of music. And one of the challenges that I've seen for people first switching over to Premiere Pro is the very first thing they'll do is they'll have a single project and then they'll import 50,000 sound effects into that project. For longtime Premiere users, you know that Premiere likes to get all the media within a project ready to edit the moment you open it. So the more media you have in a single project, the longer that project will take to open. If you're just trying to get in and make a quick change to a sequence and you've got 50,000 sound effects and 50,000 music clips all living in that same project, that can take a while because it's got to go through and just double check and catalog and make sure all of those are ready to edit. They're all online and they're ready to go. With a production, you can create separate projects for those different types of elements that you reuse over and over again. And you can really easily import them into a new production whenever you're getting started. So as an example of this, I've already gone through and imported some music elements. I've got my voiceover clips. I've got a sound effects project that we brought in. And you can see here from the lock icon that there's another editor actually working on this. Mike Burton is off in another room here, currently working on the sound effects as well as this, I always called it final edit. That's a little arrogant. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, you can see that those are actually being locked here. So what I want to do is I want to import another project. And so what I'm going to do, let me go ahead and select my audio elements folder here. And we have a menu command here called add project to production. So you want to make sure and use this command if you're going to take any existing Premiere Pro project and bring it in and make it part of your production. What this will ensure is that it's going to make a unique copy of that project, and it's going to put it into the production folder where all of these other projects reside. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let's say add project to production. And I've got a project here that I've got some of these music elements may look familiar, Jason, because I think you created a lot of these.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I recognize some of those there.
So I've got, these are called loops. These are little 15 and 30-second music files that you can use that loop on a regular basis. I want to add that to my production. I'll go ahead and click open. It's going to let me know that, oh, I'm going to create a new copy of this project. So it's not, again, really quickly, it's not copying the media. It's just copying the project file.
And that's really worth emphasizing, right? Because that's one of the fundamental differences of the production. In fact, there's a lot of questions here that are asking, so can you basically have a production that doesn't theoretically have a Premiere Pro project file in it?
Can you have a production without a Premiere? Well, see, the whole idea of a production is it's a way of organizing a set of Premiere Pro project files. Right. The moment you create a production, it actually starts by creating a blank project within that production for you.
Right.
So that's kind of the idea behind this. So you can see here, this has added this Loops 2020 project to my production. I can open that up and I can see I've got a series of folders. Each of these have organized music elements that I can then go in and search and find. So yeah, that's kind of part and parcel to the way a production works. Is it's really designed around the idea of organizing this set of projects. The project file format is not going away. It's just when you take one project and you put a ton of stuff in it, it just becomes unwieldy. This gives you a way of, in an organized fashion, breaking things up into smaller bits, smaller chunks, And because everything is referenced across each other, there's never any possibility of duplicate clips. In fact, let me show you an example of that really quickly here. I'm going to open up the project that Mike is currently working on. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And even though Mike is actively editing this, I can actually open this. I can even look at Mike's sequence. But again, we're using project locking on here. This is a locked project. So if I try and pick this up and let's move this around on Mike's timeline, oh, wait a minute. No, it's not going to let me do it. That's as designed. That's the way we want this to be. I can see the current state of Mike's edit. I could actually select a section of this and copy it and paste it into my sequence, but I have no chance of interfering or messing up anything that Mike is currently working on. His project is locked to me so that I can't make any changes. Follow? That makes sense?
Yeah, that's totally awesome.
Okay.
By the way, I have to tell you too, and just to say this, a shout out to all the many people watching on the various networks. We have so many people in the chats today and so many Adobe people in the chats that all the questions are getting answered. I'm not having to feed you as many as I normally would. So
awesome.
Keep them coming, everyone. And thank you for bringing all those questions. All right, back to you.
Thank you guys for attending. I'm still kind of getting used to this idea. I've been in Vegas in mid-April for as long as I can remember. I want to say it's 22 years of going to NAB. So
this would have been my 21st. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a crazy time we're living in. But thank you guys so much for tuning in and checking this out online. One other thing I want to point to is I've just been working inside of the production here within Premiere Pro, and that's perfectly valid. But if you ever are concerned with, like, what does the production look like on a drive? What is actually going on the drive? All a production is, I'll just click the flyout menu here, and I'll use this reveal production in Finder command. If I were to look at this on Finder or on Windows Explorer, what I would see is a folder with the name of the production, and I would see the same series of folders and subfolders that I would normally see inside of the production panel within Premiere. It's a one-to-one relationship. So, you know, if I were to change the name of this, looks like this project was misnamed Day 7. If I just right-click on this and choose Rename, and let's change that to Day 6. If I go back and open up that Finder window, sorry, Jason.
That's okay.
You'll see that the project here was actually renamed to Day 6 as well. So everything you do in the production panel, anything as far as the renaming of files, adding additional projects, you still have the ability to access those on a Finder level. Another thing to note is that these are all still Premiere Pro project files. So if you needed to take one of these projects out of the production folder and take it home and work on it or something along those lines, it still is a valid Premiere Pro project file. Now, if you only take one project out of the overall production and it doesn't have, the clips live in a different project, don't worry. Premiere actually gives you some methodology. If you right-click on a clip and say Reveal in Project, it'll actually give you a little message saying, I can't find the rest of the production at this point. Do you want to point me at it, or do you want to create new master clips? So if somebody needed to just go off and make a separate copy of this with its own master clips, you can do that. Conversely, before I show you an export option, all of the clips in this sequence, all the clips in all the sequences within this production are referencing the same master clips. Premiere has had this concept for quite a while of something called a master clip effect. This is the idea of putting an effect like color or maybe a blur effect or something like that on the clip in the bin. And while this has been useful in a self-contained project, when you start to copy sequences from multiple projects and it makes duplicate master clips, it can be difficult to figure out, like, where is the master clip for this particular clip in the timeline, because there might be 3 or 4 copies living within your project. Now, with a production, because all the media is stored in one central repository of clips, we can, with confidence, I can right-click on a clip, reveal it in the project, and go in and make a master change to color. It's possible for you can have an assistant editor or even a colorist going in using Lumetri Color to color footage while you've got a team of editors going through and actually doing the editing. So the way this looks, let me just start by, let's find a good clip here. Here's a nice one. Same one I was using before because it is a nice clip. We'll go ahead and right click, reveal that in the project. I'm going to open this up in my source monitor. And then with it open in the source monitor, first off, you can see that there's a little bit of color difference between the source clip and the clip in my timeline. If I look at this clip in the timeline, it actually already has a Lumetri color effect applied to it. There you can see I can turn that off. So this is a case where this color is only affecting that one clip in that one timeline. It isn't being applied globally to everybody. I made that change just for my sequence. Mike's sequence, he might be editing away and decided on some different color. But if I wanted to push this out and make this for everybody, and this is, again, with great power comes great responsibility. This needs to be part of your workflow. Don't go doing this to without telling other people, because they'll be wondering, why is the color suddenly changing? But this gives me the ability to assign, doing like a first pass, a temporary color pass, to an assistant editor, or maybe a lead editor wants to go through and just make sure all the footage matches for the upcoming screening. I'm going to go ahead and cut this. Now, if I load the clip from the bin and go to the effect controls, you'll see that this is currently empty, and very importantly, this is the master effect. So now when it says master up here in the corner, I'm putting effects on this clip that everybody is going to see. And because there's only one copy of this clip within the entire production, every other project, every other sequence is going to see this change. So that's a really powerful thing to be able to do. Again, with power comes responsibility. Use it wisely. But if I wanted to push this out and say, this is the color that everybody should be using, I can paste that Lumetri effect back in here, and that will actually ripple through across not only my sequence, but Mike's sequence, any other projects that I might have within the production. So by using a production, the older feature called Master Clip Effects suddenly gets all this new life. It gets the ability to, you can use this, and this even goes for things like you could mask a blur on a face, for example. So everybody could start editing away, and you could assign one person the task of going through with interview footage, to put the little blur circles on the faces of the people you don't have rights to use, or you have to protect their identities.
And I was just going to say too, Karl, this, like you kind of just described, sort of reimagining that master clip effect concept and kind of bringing it more to the forefront. I don't think people necessarily really discovered that we had that. At least a lot of our users never really discovered the difference between the master and the instance clip effect options that we had. So this is kind of a new way to really reveal that and make it even infinitely more useful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The last thing that I just like to point out, as we're pretty close on time here, if you are the person who has to deliver this to final screening, you have to reconnect the footage to high-res footage, the step we call conform. If for some reason you just want your own set of master clips, it's definitely possible to do that. So here I've got a sequence in question. This is a copy of my timeline at this point. And we have some menu commands that are built into the edit menu. And this includes the ability to go through and generate new master clips. So if you have a situation where you need to knock the footage offline because you're going to reconnect to other footage. A lot of times in Hollywood, we'll start with maybe something that's got time code burned in on the top of it, where the clips that get generated have something, they're not the final footage that we want to actually use for export. So the traditional offline online workflow is to knock the old clips offline and then reconnect to the high-res footage or the non-watermark version or the color-graded version. That's still a valid workflow. The thing here is, since the clips are all living in this central repository and you've got other people that are delivering promos and maybe they're still working with that footage, if I just need to reconnect my sequence to that high-res footage, copy it into a new project, and there's a menu command in here. It's grayed out right now. I have to do some selections here to make it actually activate, but you'll see I have something here called Generate Master Clips for Media. And what that'll do is allow me to, if I select a range of clips in this sequence, I can go through and I can generate new master clips, and those new master clips will be independent. So this is a case where I want to make copies of my media. I want to make copies of my master clips, still referencing the same media, or I want to point them at a different set of media. So we've put all the menu commands in place so that those housekeeping things that you might need to do, reassociating a project, if you're bringing a project back in that somebody generated the master clips for and you want to reassociate it elsewhere, or any of those types of things. We've really tested this out in a number of real world cases where we've worked really closely with assistant editors that have to do all of those types of housekeeping things on large, big projects. And so just know that this is one of those things that, this isn't just like a 1.0 feature in any way, shape, or form. We really feel that this is something that we've tested out really, really well.
That's awesome, Karl. Now, we've only got a couple more minutes here, and we kind of alluded to this earlier, but we've also got a bit of an announcement today with regard to team projects, and there's been a lot of chat about team projects and how this augments or differs. But one of the things that we wanted to point out is that we're actually making team projects available to all users through August 17th. Now, maybe there's just so many questions about this. Could you talk slightly about sort of how these differ, team projects and productions, just on a really sort of fundamental high level?
Sure. So productions are using standard Premiere Pro project files, and traditionally they can, in this case, I'm working on shared storage with Mike Burton. I could have a production on my laptop. They're standard Premiere Pro project files. Right. Team projects is something that it's a service that we've had for a while that's only been available for customers that subscribe to Creative Cloud for Teams or had an enterprise account from like a big corporation. And but the idea behind team projects is it actually puts the project data in a database in the cloud, and it has special features to make it easy to collaborate over long distances, where you can share changes to a group of people and they'll see the latest copy. Multiple people can have the same team project open at the same time. Even After Effects users and Premiere users can be inside the same team project doing different things at the same time. And there's a lot of nice features in there as far as auto-saving to the cloud, being able to go back in time to an earlier cut if you need to, using sort of a time, like a production slider to move back and see an earlier state of your team project. So we kind of have these two different modes of working. Productions has a lot of use cases for it where you're dealing with large quantities of source media. You're dealing with long production schedules where you've got days, weeks. I have some documentaries that have been shooting now. There's one in particular I'm thinking of that's been going for 3 years. They're still shooting more media for this. So when you're trying to tell a story, and it's particularly anything long form, or you want to work in an episodic workflow, and you can manage it in a central area. And by the way, we are doing a lot of testing with some of our virtualization solution partners, companies like Bebop, is one example, that allow you to put a production in something like AWS storage. So that's another option if you're looking at it. But with team projects, the biggest gotcha with team projects has been you had to have these higher levels of Creative Cloud membership in order to use it. Right. So super excited to see that this is now going out to everybody who has Creative Cloud for What was the date again, Jason?
Until August 17th. So you've got,
Yeah.
four plus months to check it out, to try it out and see if it works for you, especially since now so many people are, working remotely and having to collaborate in such a way. And Anna, hold on, I just lost the question. Anna Isaacson was asking, and maybe you can answer this with regard to enterprise usage of team projects. Are we able to have users participate who are not within the enterprise group? How does it work with sharing things outside of the enterprise group?
Absolutely, yes. So the way team projects works, when you're an enterprise customer, your Adobe ID, the way that you sign into Creative Cloud, it might actually even take you to like an internal screen where you do your sign-in work, the same way you sign into your computer or other work-related services. So for enterprise customers, they might not see the same login screen that the average person sees, or the login screen that they'd see at home. That doesn't matter, as long as the Adobe IDs that are added to the project, or to the team project. Again, in the past, it had to be a Teams or Enterprise Adobe ID. And we saw that pretty frequently in the past, where an enterprise client might start a team project, and then they would invite freelancers. And again, it's all based on using you just need the Adobe ID of the person that you're inviting to the team project. So the new news is, with team projects now, anybody, if you just have an individual membership, you sign up on adobe.com, you'll have access to team projects, so you can get invited. And this is partly the reason we're doing this, is definitely because we're seeing an uptick in the number of customers wanting to use team projects and be able to leverage the fact that you can work over distances. Right. Team projects does a great job of managing different media paths on different machines, and it's not going to get, you're not going to break links if you reconnect your team project. When you're working on the team project, you connect it to one drive path, and somebody else is using a different drive path. It stores that on a user by user basis.
Right.
So,
and this was something that I know in past years, particularly at like IBC and NAB, where we would hear people who had, teams or enterprise plans to use team projects, but they had freelancers they were working with who were on the individual plan. And it was a little confusing and sometimes challenging. Now that it's like that's just been lifted, and it's it'll be so much easier for people to really investigate how useful team projects can be. And in fact, coming up after you, we've got Bob Lindeman from USA Today, who does a video series daily called Just the Facts, FAQS, Just the Facts. Nice. And curiously, he said, we were talking before this, and he was saying, I've actually been working towards this work remotely thing for ages, because I'm working with teams that are all over the place. We've been using team projects, but going into the office to do it, now doing it from home. And this is exactly what we need, because we bring in a lot of freelance people. And again, now that, not everybody's working in the team or enterprise environment, it's going to make it so much easier to collaborate and get these things done so much quicker and faster.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Everyone is, I'm reading the final bits of questions here. So if anyone else has more questions for Karl, again, we are here with you for 4 days. Coming up in 30 minutes, we've got Bob Lindeman from USA Today. He's going to be talking about team projects and productions and collaboration.
Jason, really quick, one last thing I like to point out. From a documentation standpoint, if you like to have like a nice document that you can print out and really kind of dive into the meat of productions, our team has actually put together an amazing document. It's actually found in HelpX. So if you just go to Premiere Pro Help and do a search on productions, you're going to find it. I'm actually putting that link on all my social media channels. So if you were looking for just a direct link, you don't want to search for it, check out, at Karl Soule on Twitter, or check me out on Facebook. I'll have the links to that document available to you.
Yeah, super cool. And actually, funny you say that, because our own Van Bedient, who's on the YouTube chat, just said the same thing. So Van, if you want to go ahead and paste that link in the YouTube chat, and Eric or any of our other colleagues, if you want to go ahead and stick that in the Adobe Live chat, super useful. And again, you can follow Karl on Twitter at Karl Soule, or myself at Beetlejace. We'll be sure to post all of those links after today. Also, with regard to some of the storage partners that Karl mentioned, we have a bunch of links and resources for those as well. So I'll be sure to post those to my Twitter later on today too. I'm just checking for more questions here, Karl. Everyone's just like really overwhelmed and loving this. And by the way, I mean, so again, you've been using this now for, well, probably for about a year or so, give or take. I mean, how has the sentiment changed too, just listening to people as this has evolved, in terms of just really, I mean, we hear so much about, it's just optimizing, all these kind of these descriptive terms. It optimizes the workflow, but it really does, right? It really changes and cleans up the ability, especially if you're working in any kind of episodic work, to just make it so clean and organized and easy and intuitive. We made it smart.
Well, absolutely. And, Adobe is a worldwide company with engineering resources just scattered around the globe. We have our headquarters in San Jose, but, we have teams in Germany, we have teams in India. We have this special group that's the film and Hollywood team that's based down here. And this is the fruition of a lot of the hard work that we've done on various engagements where we work specifically with a particular project that, a film that wants to use Premiere Pro. And we just listen to their feedback. We really, really value the experience. So, obviously a number of years ago, the first Deadpool movie was cut in Premiere. A lot of the feedback that we had from that kind of led to the development of productions. And it was actually the same editorial team from the first Deadpool movie that worked on Terminator Dark Fate. So they were able to see the evolution and commit to using Premiere. And we just continued to use the technology throughout that process. And we saw some last minute challenges with the way Terminator Dark Fate was working, and that led to the development of the production panel and what you see today. So when I say it's battle tested, Terminator Dark Fate used a production that I think had something like 2,000 projects in it.
Right. Right.
They worked in a model of the dailies came in, the audio and video were synced and moved into scene projects.
Right.
The scene projects were eventually cut into reel projects for like 18 to 20 minute chunks of the movie. And then eventually those sequences were put together into like a final film for delivery. So it really lends itself to any of that type of production work.
And so last question, because there have been a couple of these with regard to sort of how Avid does similar things. How does this compare, in your opinion, to kind of the Avid, media organization workflow, especially for like these episodic type things where you're talking about having your scene projects, your dailies and all of these other things?
Well, definitely the way this is designed is it's designed to be familiar to people who are working down in this industry. So, I've had some editors coming from that platform, start referring to Premiere project files as bin files. You can call them bins if you want to. Just make sure everybody's on the same page if you're going to do that. Right. So it is pretty a pretty familiar metaphor of being able to work in this way. We've tried to go through and find our own way of improving on it in ways. There's no way in Premiere, for example, to open up a read-only project and then start making changes to it and then try and save. It's just not going to let you make the changes up front. So that's a common pain point that we saw with people. Furthermore, if you need to take something home, each Premiere Pro project file is a standalone Premiere project file. You don't have to create a project container to open it up as a bin. You can basically just go directly into the Premiere Pro project.
So awesome. Well, Karl, I can't thank you enough for joining me today and joining all of us here on this special Adobe live stream. I was even going to point out, just to keep it real, I'm even wearing our one of our trade show shirts.
Nice.
One of the ones that we would typically be wearing, slightly tight fitting, as they normally are.
Yeah, I tried to come on brand. I've got the same thing going on with my my black on black Adobe polo shirt. So
shout out to Eric Addison, who says, "This was awesome. Where can I scan my badge?" Oh, right.
Oh.
There you go. That's right. No badge scanning. That's okay. We have all of your data if you've signed in through Adobe Live. No. So in any case, my friends, thank you so much for joining. Again, we've got a lot more coming up over the next more today with Bob Lindeman from USA Today, and more over the next 3 days until Friday. Again, amazing customer stories, amazing people who work here at Adobe, and again, so many in the chats. And I think we can definitely see this is the kind of engagement that works. Yes, we are here, we are listening, we are taking your questions, we are answering them for you, and that's what we want this to be, a real place for you to just ask the things you want to know about, and we're here to help, and we're here to talk about it all. So we will be back here on Adobe Live, on Behance, on Creative Cloud YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter Periscope in approximately 21 minutes with Bob Lindeman from USA Today. So until then, thank you so much for watching. Thank you again, Karl, for joining, and we will see you all again next time. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.